I'm heading to a store when I want to find some veggies because I'd like to make a soup. Because today I'm going to eat like my grandmother and my mother when my mother was a child, was a teenager in fact, and but in winter because I've already showed you in summer, so I want to show you in winter. So I'm going to take you along and to show you everything she eats in a day. Hello, good morning. Welcome to my grandmother breakfast. So I prepped a very French, typical French breakfast with a coffee, 2 slices of sourdough bread, and with butter and jam. And this is a typical breakfast for my grandmother. And in fact, my mother still eats this for breakfast every day. And so there's some jam. This is a very typical French jam. And me, I'm going to have this one. It's a sugar-free jam made with fruit juice, I think. It's very low in sugar and pretty good. I've already had this with some fromage blanc the other day to test, and it's pretty good. And so I'm going to have 2 slices of sourdough bread. I'm going to spread some butter on top. Have some coffee. I'm going to add some milk. And the reason why I added this Petit Suisse, which is a French dairy, you can find this, yes, very often at the supermarket. I think it's yogurt made with cream. But I'm not sure, so I'm going to check, and I will put this on screen. And this is something my grandmother used to have for dessert, but more for dinner, not for breakfast, in fact. And the reason why I added this is to prevent any blood sugar spike linked with these sugary items I'm going to eat. And because when you eat some protein with sugar, it's going to help with the absorption of sugar. It's going to slow down the absorption of sugar. And so it's going to prevent any blood sugar spike. So anyway, I'm going to enjoy my breakfast, and I will see you later for lunch. This is our lunch. So my grandma used to eat more at lunch than for dinner. And I do exactly the opposite today, but I don't know why, because maybe it's better to eat more at lunch because it supports all the activities during the afternoon. But me, I don't eat that much at lunch, and I prefer to eat at dinner because I have more time and have time to cook. So yeah, but I'm going to eat like she used to. So I prep this sausage, which is boudin, which is made with pork and blood. This is the reason why it's so dark. And I'm looking forward to eat this because my family doesn't like this kind of sausage, so I don't make this very often. And I like to cook it, to brown it into butter because it makes a crust, which is very, very good. And as a side, I have this leftover leeks, gratin made with leeks. So I've already showed you this recipe on my channel, so I'm going to insert some footage of the recipe. And I added some mash, which is a winter salad. I've already showed you several times. But in fact, they used to eat the salad with cheese and not with the main course. But I added this just for freshness. And this is the starter. This is a saucisson, which is a French specialty. I'm going to have maybe a piece or 2. So I showed you the salad, and I made a homemade vinaigrette with this, with just regular oil, vinegar, and mustard, Dijon mustard. And then I'm going to have some cheese with this sourdough bread, because they used to eat only sourdough bread and never baguette, for instance. baguette is very new, in fact. And I have some comté, which is a yellow one, and brie, which is cheese from the area of Paris. Not Paris, but not so far. And for the bread, yes, because the baguette was invented in Paris, I think, in the 30s, in the 1930, and but it was very Parisian thing and not so much in the countryside. And for dessert, I'm going to have an apple. They used to have a lot of apples because they had a lot of trees, fruit trees in their garden. And they kept apples all winter long in a dark room to keep them good and edible. And for dessert too, maybe if I'm still hungry, I'm going to have the dairy. This is the dairy I showed you earlier this morning, Petit Suisse, and with jam, because it was a common dessert for them to have some dairy with jam and nuts. But I'm not sure I'm going to still be hungry after all this. And of course I have a glass of wine, but it's just to show you, because I'm not going to drink this. My grandma used to drink a glass of wine every single day for lunch and for dinner, but I don't, so I'm not going to drink this, but it was just to show you a real meal. So now I'm going to enjoy my boudin, because as I said, I'm looking forward to eat this, and I see you later. I'm going to make a soup because they used to eat a lot of soups during winter, and with veggies from the garden. And they are very wintry veggies. I've got some leeks, I've got some celery for flavor, I've got some carrots. Of course, I'm going to wash them because they are very dirty. And I have some leftover carrots too. I need to use up, so I'm going to add this to have more soup. And I've got some onions. There are pink onions from Roscoff, which is a city in Brittany, in the west of France. It's a specialty from there, and it's delicious. And I have some leftover broth. I'm going to add for more flavor. And some herbs too. I've got I have some bay leaves and some thyme. And the way I make the soup is I make a big batch, and I like to store in jars, in a different sizes jar, and to freeze the soup. This way I have soup ready to go when I want some so I have some jars for one person and some jars for 2 or 3 people. And this way we have soup ready to go for one person during weeknights or for the whole family. And so I'm going to make a big batch. Try to keep the most of the leeks, the green part, because it gives a very good taste to the broth. I don't know if you are familiar with this kind of tool. It's to peel the carrots and the veggies. And because I have a friend, an Italian friend, who didn't know this tool, so I was wondering if it was only French or if you can find this in other countries. Let me know if you can find this in your country or if it's French. I don't know. I'm going to make 2 batches because it won't be enough with just the Dutch oven. So now I'm going to let this simmer for at least 1 hour, and I'm going to check after 1 hour, but I think it will be more, it's going to be more 1:30 in fact. And then afterwards I will remove the herbs, and I will puree everything with the hand mixer, and mix thoroughly, and add more water and mix again thoroughly to make a soup. And I'm going to let this cool, and afterwards I will pour everything into jars and freeze a part and store the rest in the fridge, as I said earlier. And the part I'm going to freeze will be for later, for weekly dinners, and the part in the fridge is going to be for tonight. So the veggies are ready, so now I'm going to make the soup. So I'm going to remove all the herbs and to mix everything with my hand mixer. It's ready. I'm just going to add a pinch of cumin, just to add some flavor, and I'm going to pour this into jars. I'm going to pour the soup into the jar, so I have one for one person and two for 2 to 3 people, and the remaining soup is going to be for dinner, of course. I'm going to fetch another container because in fact I have a lot of soup, so I need another jar. And yeah, when you pour some soup or liquid into a jar container and you freeze it, make sure to let some room on top, because this way the soup can expand, because otherwise it would explode in your freezer. So I'm going to fetch another jar and to keep going with my jars. So this is the final product. I have 5 jars, and this is the remaining soup for dinner. So I have 2 jars for 2 to 3 people and 3 jars for 1 person. So for me, in fact. And we are going to enjoy the remaining soup for dinner. This is our dinner. So this is the soup I made earlier. And as you can see, there's a boiled egg and some cheese. And my mother told me this was it was very usual to have this kind of dinner in winter. A big soup and some kind of eggs, an omelette or boiled eggs or an œuf cocotte. I already showed you this recipe of cocotte, and so it was that usually, yeah, they didn't eat so much fish or meat for dinner. It was more something they usually had for lunch, and for dinner it was more a soup and something made with eggs, because in France eggs are not a breakfast food. It's something we usually eat more for lunch or dinner. And so, as I said, it's the soup I made earlier, and I'm going to have this with this boiled egg. And I have some bread. I'm going to spread some butter on top of the bread, and I'm going to dip the bread into the boiled egg. In France, we call this mouillette. the fact to have the bread with butter and to dip it into the egg. And it's because it's wet, mouillette, as white bread, in fact. And then I'm going to have some cheese. So this is some brie on the left. This one is cheese from Co, very soft. And this one, it's I bought this because my grandmother used to have this every day. It's called carré frais, and it's made with garlic and chives, and she liked this very much, and she used to have this every single day. So this is the reason I bought this, and it's pretty good, in fact. Very creamy. And then she would have a fruit, so I'm going to have an orange. And they usually add some fromage blanc for dessert and jam. They made a lot of jam at home, homemade jam, because they used to have a lot of fruits in their garden. So it was a treat for dessert to have jam with fromage blanc. So I think that's it. Of course, have some wine. So I'm going to have a sip maybe of wine with my soup. And now I'm going to have to eat my soup because it smells very good and it's warm. So yeah, I will see you in my next video. And merci et à bientôt.